November 24th, 1971. A man wearing a dark business suit quietly boarded Northwest Orient Flight 305. He looked ordinary. He carried a briefcase. He ordered a bourbon and soda. Nothing about him attracted attention. As the aircraft climbed into the cloudy skies above the Pacific Northwest, he handed a folded note to one of the flight attendants. She smiled. Assuming it was another passenger trying his luck, she slipped it into her handbag without reading it. The man leaned closer and calmly whispered, "Miss, you'd better look at that note." She unfolded the paper. It contained only a few words, "I have a bomb." That moment would begin one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in FBI history. Before we open the dossier, if you enjoy true stories, unsolved mysteries, and extraordinary events from history, subscribe to the channel. There are plenty more cases waiting to be opened. The man purchased his ticket using cash. He gave his name as Dan Cooper. Somewhere along the way, a newspaper mistakenly printed the name D.B. Cooper. The error spread across the country, and the name stuck forever. Witnesses described Cooper as calm, polite, well-dressed, in his mid-40s. He wasn't loud. He wasn't aggressive. He never raised his voice. When the flight attendant sat beside him, he quietly opened his briefcase. Inside, she saw what appeared to be several red cylinders connected by wires. Whether it was a real bomb or an elaborate fake has never been proven. Cooper calmly explained what he wanted: $200,000, 4 parachutes, a fuel truck waiting after landing. No tricks, no heroes, no police. Unlike many hijackers, he wasn't interested in publicity. He never made political demands. He never explained why he was doing it. He simply wanted the money. The aircraft landed in Seattle. Authorities complied with Cooper's demands. The passengers were released. The money was delivered. 4 parachutes were brought on board. Then, something unusual happened. Instead of escaping, Cooper ordered the aircraft back into the air. He instructed the pilots to fly toward Mexico, at a relatively low altitude, at a relatively slow speed, with the rear staircase left open. This wasn't a random request. Very few commercial aircraft could even fly safely under those conditions. The Boeing 727 could. Years later, many investigators would wonder, did Cooper already know that? At approximately 8 p.m., a warning light briefly illuminated inside the cockpit. The pilots felt the aircraft suddenly pitch upward. They believed someone had just exited through the rear staircase. No one saw him jump. No one heard him land. When the aircraft eventually landed, Cooper was gone. So was the money. He had disappeared into the night. The FBI launched one of the largest investigations in its history. Thousands of suspects were interviewed. Military veterans, skydivers, pilots, criminals. Not a single one could be conclusively identified as Cooper. Investigators recovered only a handful of clues: a black clip-on tie, several cigarette butts, fingerprints that have never conclusively identified a suspect. Years later, a young boy discovered nearly $6,000 in decaying ransom money buried along the Columbia River. The serial numbers matched the ransom exactly, but how the money reached the river remains unknown. This is where the mystery truly begins. Some investigators believe Cooper died during the jump. The weather was terrible. The landing zone was rugged. He wore ordinary business shoes. He may not even have known where he was. Others disagree. They point out that Cooper specifically requested 4 parachutes, possibly to make authorities believe he intended to take a hostage. He appeared familiar with the Boeing 727. He chose a flight path that minimized military interception. He remained calm throughout the hijacking. Was he an experienced paratrooper, a military veteran, or simply lucky? To this day, no definitive evidence answers those questions. Over the decades, dozens of names have been proposed. Some were former soldiers. Some were professional skydivers. Others confessed on their deathbeds. None of those claims could be proven. One suspect would seem convincing until a fingerprint failed to match. Another looked identical to witness sketches, but had a solid alibi. The deeper investigators looked, the less certain they became. In 2016, after 45 years, the FBI officially suspended its active investigation. One of America's greatest mysteries remained unsolved. More than 50 years later, nobody knows who D.B. Cooper really was. No confirmed body, no verified confession, no arrest. Only a clip-on tie, a handful of weathered banknotes, and a name that wasn't even his. Perhaps Cooper died the night he jumped. Perhaps he escaped and quietly lived the rest of his life under another identity. Or perhaps the greatest trick he ever pulled was convincing the world to keep searching. What do you think happened to D.B. Cooper? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed opening this dossier, subscribe. The next case is coming soon.